Or shall we?
Well, we can open BJ here in a minute.
Thank you. You good?
All right, welcome everybody. This is the ad hoc committee meeting to review council's rules of procedure. We are starting the meeting at 3:30. Currently present, we have Reed Eagles, Carol Smith, David Murphy, and a guest, Danny DeLong. We are still missing Mr. Preston here in a couple minutes, and Robert Finer is unable to attend this meeting. So, calling the meeting to order. Our first order of business should be to name a chairman. Probably makes sense if BJ as a member is a couple minutes out, but we hold off doing that. So I guess I'll just start by thanking you guys for being on the committee and to give my initial thoughts on what we're trying to accomplish. We are live streamed. I thought maybe we would have a little bit of public presence here based on the last time. Our council is brand new except for Mr. DeArmond. And after reviewing these rules, I'm actually the one that instigated this, and I feel it's appropriate for representatives from council to review the rules. They've been put together and evolved over the years and determine if this council is happy with rules as are written or whether they feel that we need to make minor changes, typos, corrections, or whether the committee chooses to propose maybe some more significant changes. For the public that's might be watching, I have no concept right now that I have any intention of making wholesale changes to public input. That's for the committee to decide. So, with that, I've attached to the agenda was a copy of the council rules that were in place. They were last changed October 21st, 2025 by the last council. And they stay in place indefinitely until changed by a majority vote of the city council. With that, again, we'll wait for BJ to show up, but if Reed or Carol, if you want to make any introductory comments, that's fine before we go into a review. No,
think I have any.
fine, okay.
Jump in.
So I don't want to get directly into the review. I don't believe we're going to propose any changes today. I think we're going to walk through page by page through the, there he is.
Sorry, folks.
BJ Preston just showed up at 3:34. All right. We are live stream BJ. We do not have stuff to keep going. We just gave a little introduction. We held off on appointing a chairman since one of our voting members wasn't here.
Sorry about that.
I'm here ex officio, so these are council rules. They're for council to change. I do not have a vote in it. I can discuss the issues with you, but it comes down to the committee to decide what, if any, proposed revisions you want to make. I go back to the first order of business is the nomination for chairman.
I'm just gonna nominate Reed here.
Nominate Reed.
Oh.
Second.
Second. All in favor of Reed.
Okay, chair.
You're the chairman. Anyone, you get to fill out the All right, I have everything I have for you here.
Thank you.
Okay, prior to the meeting, I asked everybody to try to do a detailed review of the rules. I probably read them from a different perspective than the rest of you. I've read them multiple times. Started reading them after the primary. And
Found out some fun things, didn't
I
you?
found out that this job, the job is what it is. I found out the job's a little different than what I thought I was signing up for, but I really don't care. I've been on several boards, I've chaired boards. I've watched different boards assign people to committees and do other stuff, and chairman of the board usually has certain authority. Somewhere along the lines, well, one of the scariest things is president is that I'm also mayor pro town, which I hope nothing happens to Mayor Gregor. I really don't want to be there.
I made the governor act swiftly in such cases.
And I also observed last year in council that what I thought president pro town was essentially like mayor pro town, that if the mayor isn't there, president steps in for her. And if the president's not there, then the president pro tem steps in for her. Somewhere, and there's nothing wrong with it, somewhere back history of city council, they've shifted some more responsibility to president pro tem, a little less to the president. We'll see that as we go through this. That's prerogative of council. That's, so this new council has to decide, are you happy with that? Can you just that's the way it's always been done, and then when we do it that way, or if you have strong enough feelings about it, consider some changes. So anyway, that's just one of the minor things. I'm gonna, unless our chairman wants to do it different, I was going to just go pay like anybody, bring up any section that they want to discuss, clarify, whatever. Some of my comments are crazy little format things. Some of them are questions that I want Mr. Finer to opine on, because I'm trouble interpreting how you want me to run these meetings and what we're doing. Other things are a question of who wrote this, why is it this way, is that the way we want it?
So is that how we want to move forward?
You think
I said, look at if that's the way we want to move forward.
that's the way we want to move forward? Okay, so I'll just start with the cover sheet. These are the rules of procedure. I don't know why it says 24-25, because when you read it, these are the rules as of October 21st, and they stay indefinitely until council changes them. So I don't know why you put a title that their last council is not going to be expired. I'm not going to say anything else about the index. Going over to the beginning of the rules and procedures. I don't know why it says 24-25. Again, I said it being reviewed in October 2025. It was actually a review that was back in early 24. There was significant discussion and there were revisions, from what I can tell, primarily about the public and rules for public speakers and or council meetings. We go down into definitions. They're very specific that this got into kind of the role of the president. As president of council, I don't enter into debate the meeting, and I only break I vote. Okay, your council is the whole council. So I got confused as to if one council member is absent and they don't vote, essentially that's a no vote to everything that comes up.
Yeah.
So if you had nine people show up and the vote is 5-4, which happened at one of the last meetings when Harrington was president. And they were debating whether he could vote or not.
Yeah.
And my opinion was one person absent, 4 against, 5-4. They don't have a majority. It's a 5-5 tie. So Harrington can vote. Fine or clarified that no, that's not what our rules read. Absent is not a no vote.
That's one of the first things I circled in here is that a tie is a tie, and if the president's role is to break a tie, then it doesn't matter how you get to a tie, it's the president's role to break it.
Right, but he considers a 5-4 vote and 1 absent is not a tie.
He considers it a majority.
But it's not a majority because all votes have to be a majority of all councils, so you have to have 6.
So we need, if to
Well,
change,
you're
we would have to rewrite it to allow a president to make a vote in a virtual tie as opposed to an actual tie.
An actual all in attendance.
Yeah. If there was a tie, if there's a tie of the people present, only 8 people are present and it's a 4-4 tie. I think I can break that tie.
Yes.
But our rules say I can only break a tie of the whole council, so I can't.
No, the way I read it in the back, because I circled that part too. A tie vote of less than all council members. So it specifically says the tie vote. So if you have a 4-4, it shall not be broken.
Exactly.
And that's number 4. So even if it's an actual tie, not in the 5-4 situation, you're still not allowed to break that tie,
Right.
which
So
I think needs to be changed.
Okay, so if 2 people are absent and there's 8 there and it's a 4-4 tie, I can't break it, but my tie wouldn't make a majority anyway unless it was just a.
Because you're saying it still has to be a majority of council.
So then I looked in Robert's Rules of Order. And the question is, you could be absent. Or you could declare a conflict.
Says.
If
Right.
one person declares a conflict and can't vote, then you have 9. And you can't have a tie. If our people declared a conflict and were not entitled to vote, then you could have a 4-4 tie of all those entitled to vote. And the president could break the tie.
But you still have a 5-4, which is not a majority of council.
Or if it was,
So it
and it's
doesn't,
not, and if it was 5-3, it's not a tie, so I couldn't vote. But Robert Rules can say you can create, anyway,
but I guess the problem that we're creating because of our numbers, if we have one person absent and one person abstain, we essentially can't vote if it comes to a tie. Because even if you break it,
it doesn't.
it doesn't count because it's not a majority.
Unless it's a unless I'm voting on a majority that are present, which happens to be everybody entitled to vote. Bizarre. I don't think there's a lot of redrafting here. One of the things I wanted to understand is if there's, I just was shocked by somebody's absent. And then I wanted to make sure I understood if 1 or 2 members declared a conflict, does that change? Do these numbers and this definitions, do they change if we're not talking about 10 that are elected of?
So does the abstention take them away from the voting member count? Is what you're saying.
Purely voting yourself.
Yeah, you can only abstain if you have a conflict. I
Right.
don't think you're allowed to abstain, just say I'm not gonna vote.
Well, but I'm saying, if you do have 2 abstentions on a certain issue.
Conflicts,
Okay.
not abstentions. Abstentions due to a conflict. Because then they're not,
A conflict.
abstention is I don't want to vote. Conflict. Okay, so that's a question that I really want Rob to talk about, and that may or may not lead to a revision. Over. Anybody have anything on the next couple of pages before me to highlight? Yeah, there's special meetings. I don't really care if anybody changes this. I thought it was I'm allowed to, if there's a inclement weather or something, we have to cancel a meeting, I'm allowed to cancel a meeting. If we have to declare a special meeting, we make it clear that the mayor can call it or 3 members of council can call it. I was surprised that the president wasn't there, but I really don't care. It's just a convenience thing if we're trying to call a special meeting. But it's 3 numbers. Over
Can I ask you a question? Why is the mayor in? There would have to be 3 people for council and only one person for her. I'm just thinking about the special meeting that she required within 24 hours of last
Yeah,
year.
I mean, that's a good question. I think
Why?
when we had, I forget what the issue was.
The vote didn't go the way she wanted, so she declared a special meeting.
Okay, yeah, it's a good question. Whether you have to have 3 council members to do it, can the president do it, can the mayor? So we'll call a special meeting. I mean, if there's something comes up and the council requires council to vote on it, have to have somebody able to call the meeting. She can ask for it, but she has the authority to call it. She
It
has,
says they can be called at any time by the mayor
that says anytime.
or the 3
Or
members.
it's time by
Council.
council.
Right.
So if your question is why mayor, my question was if I'm supposed to cancel meetings and try to coordinate the next meeting, what can I call a meeting? But
Oh, I see.
I don't really care. So kind of like question mayor, question president. It's really,
I think the case you're talking about happened in council. Whereas if you called a meeting, it'd probably be outside of council because, oh, for some reason.
Or-
right?
or
You
like-
know what I mean?
such as we stopped the meeting and that's not really a special meeting. I rescheduled it. And we get here and we're in a last whatever winter snowstorm and I say we're canceling the meeting today and we're going to meet, the next day or 2 days from now. That's not really a special meeting. When something goes wrong, have something that we absolutely have to address, they've given the mayor. You make a good point. I'm not necessarily against that, but
I believe that the reason the mayor has the ability, Dan, from what I understand, is that if it's a matter of city importance, if it's a matter that could shut down the city, if it's a matter that could in some way, shape, or form that may be unknown to council, affect the operation of the city, be it safety or be it whatever it may be that council may not be aware of, it was written in that the mayor may call that special session.
I don't think that
Yeah,
was the case.
In that particular case, I believe you're right. I don't think it was, but I believe that's the way
Yeah,
I believe that's why the
It
mayor
was, the
was.
vote did not go where she wanted it, so a special meeting to redo a vote.
I understand in that particular situation, I was merely commenting on why it was written the way it was written.
yeah. And I thought there was something.
Wasn't there a vote? Didn't they take a break and come back and vote on it?
No, especially not the situation he's talking about. It was
Because there was a council member absent.
Ballman was
Right, he
absent.
was missing and it
Right.
didn't pass. It was 5-4. Didn't pass.
Okay.
And they ended up calling a special meeting. Bauman showed up for it and passed 6-4. Okay, so that's another issue for discussion. Attendance. This is one where there's a lot of attendance. And I've read this and I also read it in a letter that was drawn up by Mr. Hatton, talking about why people are council meeting, the your meeting. I'm elected to run your meeting, but it's your meeting. And this specifically spells out auditor, city auditor, treasurer, safety director, service director are requested to attend. They don't have to attend. And they are there for the purpose to answer questions related to the affairs of the city under their supervised control. They're there to answer, to provide reports to you, to answer your questions. And you've got to decide whether you agree with the other stuff written It gives them full right to debate and question any issue before council. Their role is as stated as to why they're here. We'll talk about it when other issues come up in here, but that, to me, that summarized, it's a council meeting. This is the purpose that they're there. I mean, the mayor is gonna present stuff to you for discussion. The auditors present some stuff and reports. If he hears you guys talking about something, and you're totally misinterpreting the report, he needs to be able to clarify the report. Not to debate with you and tell you what to do or what the answer is or what he wants you to do or what the mayor wants you to do. So you got to think about the role of each speaker available.
We'll also have to rely on you a little bit because they can't speak without being recognized.
But do I have to recognize them as one of the things when they put their hand up? And if they.
And I guess that's my thing is we're gonna have to rely on you a little bit, not to just automatically recognize.
And if you start talking and they're out of line, I can stop them. But if our rules say they can fully enter into debate, I can't stop them.
I didn't read that anywhere in
You
here.
will.
Oh, I missed it. Okay.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so that's just,
Can we go back on to the first paragraph?
sure.
Oh,
Yeah, go ahead.
As far as attendance of scheduled council meetings due to sudden illness or emergency.
Right.
Last year, there was an awful lot of, I just got a call from such and such and they won't be here.
All right.
I don't know.
So, okay, as chair, for example, I don't know as chair if I'm allowed to explain, they're supposed to contact me and tell me that they can't make it, tell me why. And then I'm in a public meeting and I'm allowed to tell the world exactly why they didn't show up. And I'm trusting you guys to decide whether to excuse them or not.
Yeah,
Danny Arment
there's,
will not be at Tuesday's meeting.
he's Frank.
got a good reason.
Hey, I think he's got a good reason.
It's a skiing.
So he has to do that now.
That's right.
Perfect.
Absolutely.
So those, you're right. Some people were, we had a council member that missed several meetings at the end and there was the one vote not to excuse them and then came back and then there was they got
a reconsideration. I'm not sure as president what I'm supposed to tell them.
Yeah.
If they don't know in advance of the meeting why somebody, but I'm the one that knows they're not showing up, I get notice.
I mean, I feel like if we have to vote on it, we should know what the last minute emergency was, but you're right that there should be some sort of discretionary way of telling everybody what the reason was before we vote
Are
on
they
it.
sick? Are they, everybody's got their own rules and what's acceptable to one person is not acceptable to one other.
Vote on it because it may be acceptable not to him or to him. And so if it's not acceptable to more people than it's acceptable to, then they're.
And they don't get excused. I agree. But
I just knew there was a lot of absences
there were,
the last half of the year. I mean, there was some in the first part of the year, but there was a lot in the last half.
What are you trying to get?
Yeah. Okay, agenda for legislation. So at the beginning of all of our meetings, we have this thing about communications to be added to the agenda. So it's like you're not allowed to do that unless it's immediately necessary to ensure continued operation. But then we have additions to legislation that comes up at every meeting on the next page, and it doesn't say. Historically, it looked like the president pro tem always, Grant Russell always said, okay, Mr. Harrington, we have 3 additions to the agenda today, and he spouts off 3 additions. And I can't, and they weren't on the agenda before And nobody went back to see whether it was immediately necessary to ensure the continued operation of the city or not. So I'm seeking a little clarification on if anybody had something to the agenda and what are the restrictions? Or does it have to be the president pro tem that does it? I don't know.
Because the,
My question there is by who and what restrictions? Because you're supposed to have your agenda out there in advance.
well, it comes out Friday,
Well, yeah, it comes out to Friday.
so they,
Friday and Tuesday.
so is it gonna be, they find something Monday or Tuesday morning, you know?
And
And
they can add what
Yeah.
restrictions are there. And that's, part of that might just be, we don't have to write it all in the rules, but Mr. Finer has to tell me whether I have to decide whether it's not a report or a communication, but it's something they want to vote on. Is there any criteria for what can get slipped in at the last minute or not? I was,
can
I
I
only,
ask, can I ask something?
Oh,
Because then the public doesn't know about it.
that's the problem. So if
The
the,
public does
did
not
they
know.
purposely wait till the last minute to slip it in and wasn't in the published agenda? Or did it really come up between Friday and Tuesday? And we have to. Okay, resolutions of commendation. We had like, 9 of them, 10 of them at our last meeting. And part of my question was, is don't really vote on them. And then it says maybe voted on, like, when do you vote on them? When do you not vote on them? We voted on all of them. Just a minor note, Mr. Finer. I'm on the next, item 14, public communication oral. I only bring this up, they changed these significantly in 24. In general, some of the public's not happy with it, some of council, whatever, are more happy with it. It seems odd to me to finish all of our business, have the public comment on something about what we should be doing. Then we adjourn the meeting because we've already finished new business. So I almost thought that maybe instead of that being the very last thing, maybe it's still part of new business. But do we want to hear from them so that if we want to address a concern that they bring up, that we're still in new business and we can address it? Again, it's, seems kind of weird to have 3 speakers come up, complain about certain things. I shouldn't say always complain. We also have some that thank us for things, but give their 4 minutes and we finish and we say, okay, meeting's adjourned. Just seems a little strange to me, but,
It's never really operated that way. They usually speak on whatever topic they're there to speak on during that.
So,
but, yeah, but then the way we've got it now, that if it's a topic that's on the agenda, they speak on it before that item is addressed. Makes perfect sense to me. If they're speaking on more general or something that's not on our agenda, they speak at the end of the meeting. In general, that's okay. The question is should that be okay, thank you very much for those comments. We adjourn our meeting, or do we have a discussion on whether to add it or not add it to our, because really they make their, unless we go into a debate on an issue, all we're doing is asking them questions to clarify their input. So just a thought.
Can I add something to it?
Sure.
The way it worked before was it was part of the opening,
Yeah,
right, to begin with.
Yeah, we did all.
And I know, one citizen was going to talk at the end of one of the council meetings, and they adjourned it for executive session.
Okay.
And it was just,
Oh, and they never came back.
and
Well, they were gone for long enough.
and they were gone long enough that the citizens said, okay, you want to be that way, I'm not gonna talk, so they did not talk.
Okay.
So in a way that stopped, the citizens could have stayed, but that person didn't. So I just felt bad that,
Yeah. Okay,
I just,
yeah, and if I know we're gonna have a,
but having an executive session and all of a sudden, boom, and it's a half hour, it's gonna be an hour, you know, and the person's waiting and waiting and waiting.
Yeah. I would, I would think as president, if I see something like, if I have one public speaker that wants to speak on something, and I know that we're gonna have a very long meeting, I feel that I have the prerogative, unless I get overruled by council, to go ahead and let them speak earlier and not wait around for 2 hours, even though our rules say that they speak at the end. I mean, but to try to avoid, just make,
Especially if you're gonna go into an executive session.
going into executive session.
If you know ahead of time, you're gonna go into
If I
executive
know
session.
it's gonna happen, it's gonna be a late meeting.
That would be a very good thing if
I
you
think
knew it was going to go into
I
an
would think I
executive
would
session.
have, I would think I have that prerogative. That, of course, anytime I do something, majority of city council can overrule me. So if I'd say, let's let, John Doe come have his 4 minutes because we're gonna be in executive session for an hour. Let it happen and not irritate somebody like that. Again, how much discretion do we have? Public communication, they worked hard on this. They changed the little form that you fill out. They changed it from having to put your address down because some people didn't pin down a speaker's exact address. They changed it to ward. I think that's a good comment. But speakers can be residents of the city, or if they can be in a neighboring community if the issue relates to that neighboring community. So we probably, if they're not in a ward, in the form, fill in where are they really from, neighborhood or whatever, and why is it relevant, because
Why does this affect me?
how does this affect me?
Yeah.
But that's just a glitch in the form. There's a 60-minute clock on oral communications, which made sense when they were all lumped together at the beginning of the meeting. Now, we can have 2-3 public speakers doing their 4 minutes plus questioning during the meeting, then we have public speakers at the end. I'm okay with that 60-minute clock, but it's not a continuous clock beginning at any given time because I have to basically say we used up 15 minutes of it at the beginning. There's only 45 minutes at the end, and I just have to keep track as president as we're approaching the hour here and I'm calling the meeting. So it can't be starting from the first speaker begins and running continuously because we have them broke up into different groups. Speakers. I don't know the history of this comment, number 2. Speakers' comments directed to elected officials, administrators, or staff members other than councilmen shall be restricted to items on the agenda. I guess they can say anything they want to council members, but the staff is what this is saying.
Right. I wrote, why are we different?
What?
I wrote, why are we different in
Well,
that section?
yeah,
It's something, maybe we can't answer to. We would want them to, we would direct them to speak on that topic. In a little more depth or a little more
Right.
information than maybe we have in front of us, since that's something what they do every day, right?
So, I mean, this is basically saying, they can't come as public speakers to say they're unhappy with what the mayor did. They can't come in and say they're unhappy with what service safety director did or they don't like Jeremy's decisions for the hearing, but they're allowed to come to council and say, I think you need to address this or this, and I'm concerned about it. That might be okay. I just.
Oddly worded.
The way I understood this was if the administration on that side addressed you when you were making a comment, that you could address them back, but you could not address them to begin with. Like if they entered into the conversation with you then you could go ahead and talk to them.
It's just like I was saying, like, if we defer to them to maybe answer a question or help us with the information.
But then they
Then they
directly,
can-
said something to the
I
speaker.
just thought it was,
I was just like,
I can't go back in history and see when I got added. I can't figure out what they were thinking of. But- So anyway, that's in debate. Okay, now we get over into item J, debate.
can I go back to the subject?
Sure, absolutely.
There is no specific rule as far as citizens talking in a committee.
It's
In
up
the
to-
past,
well, there's.
It's been up to the chairman whether that committee will allow somebody to speak.
That is my understanding.
And then what are the parameters if a citizen can speak? Like in one committee meeting, citizens were given 10 seconds.
Okay, well, and there is I have no idea what the origin of it is. I have a one sheet guideline on committee meetings. And it did state in there that it's up to the chair as to whether to allow public input or not and how.
Do they get to decide that per meeting, or is that something they have to establish at the very beginning when they form their committee?
When we got here today, I thought we were gonna have public here, and I was gonna, whoever our chairman was, I was gonna let the chairman decide whether to accept public comment.
Right.
Unless we seek input during their discussion, I would think that under normal circumstances, we would not have a discussion. Today, Danny is actually guest, and as a council member, we're allowing him discussion. But if I had Danny and public people out here, I don't want to open it up to one and not open it up to everybody. So at that point, if I was chairing, I'd sit there and say, sorry, Mr. DeLong, public's not speaking at this meeting, or we'll give them a chance to speak at the beginning of the meeting, or we'll give them a chance to speak at the end of the meeting. We're not having a debate between one people here. And again, the idea that you leave that a little bit up to the situation of the chairman, I think is fine. But the chairman has to recognize that you can't treat one member of the public different than another member of the public.
That's going to be my point. I've been at a committee meeting where a council member who was not on the committee spoke, and then another council member wanted to speak, and the chairman would not allow them to speak.
Should
So
be
what-
consistency.
If you have somebody that wants to speak and you're a council person and you let one person talk, but you're
Yeah.
going, nope, you can't talk.
Well, I mean,
And I don't know if, sorry,
Good.
I don't know if we need to write policy on this, but I think if the chairs of these committees, as we nominate in the next meeting, are able to, if it's a public meeting, I think in the public announcement, the chairperson should declare, are we accepting public comments or not? And if we are, what are the parameters? Do you need submitted in writing 24 hours before the meeting? How much time will they have?
I think that's very good.
Or they need to just say in the public announcement, they need to say, we are not accepting comments from the public in this meeting.
okay,
Make it time for the
And I think as long as you put it in the meeting announcement, it's not gonna be a surprise to anybody. Everybody will have the same chance.
right. So they show up and they think they're gonna get a chance to speak and they don't, or vice versa. Okay, makes sense. Debate, yeah. Go ahead.
I had one before we moved into debate too, if you
Go
want to
ahead.
have the first one.
Yeah, go ahead. It's the same.
Promoting political candidates is prohibited. I would very strongly like to see added to this any issues as well. So not just political candidates, but any issues. I don't believe it's council's position to support or not support candidates, which is already written, but I think we need to add to that any local issues.
And I think there's,
Past history.
I think as president, I have the right to, if I see something coming up that is not council business, that is not related to council's operation of the city, that I have the authority to try to stop that. And I think if I don't do it, I think council is allowed to speak up try to stop it. I think I'm very familiar with one situation. I cannot believe that it came up before council and council voted on it. I don't, my personal opinion is it affects the city of Findlay, but it's not council business.
Well, and I guess I would just like to put it in black and white so that it's not open for interpretation. I don't.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because it's my
Yeah.
personal beliefs, but I think if we're gonna be strong enough to say we can't promote political candidates, why can't we then also write in stone that we also cannot promote issues, one side or the
Or
other?
make a resolution.
I mean, there's ways around every rule, but
I mean, I've discussed this with some prior council members and some of them felt it was, they were pretty adamant that it was within their prerogative to promote certain things, not political candidates, but to promote certain things. And council has to decide what's right. It's not my vote. But I see both sides of the equation. I think it detracts from us doing our business. But maybe some of those things, you can make a good enough argument that they're important enough to the city of Findlay that we say, make some statement about them. I don't know. I don't know about total recommendation. So something to consider.
In that same section where
Yeah.
it's under other prohibited remarks, it says any person basically causing disruption will be removed or barred from further participation in the meeting. But then it says unless permission to continue is granted by the majority vote of council members present.
Well, that's,
Is that is that even necessary? Because if they're being ridiculous.
I think they're,
Just kick it.
it's council's way of saying that the president's being unreasonable in his determination.
so
That's what the gal.
there's something, yeah, you got the gavel, there's something.
You're controlling it.
Yeah, one of the fundamentals,
down.
if I gavel somebody down and you guys don't agree with it, if I tell somebody your 4 minutes is off, you guys are allowed to make a motion, let them continue to talk if you want to. I'm trying to ban the clock and you guys want to hear more, you're allowed to do it. If I tell somebody you're out of line, you're done, you had your first warning, follow our rules. Second time, I bar you from the rest of the meeting. Like everything else, you can overrule me, tell them, let them stay. But if you do that, I've lost control of the meeting at that point.
Well, that was my thought is, and it's
What
pretty,
are you even doing?
Yeah.
Personal attacks on Andrew's remarks. I mean, we don't want that in there anyway, so
Right.
Well,
I can't believe it. To your point, though, I understand.
okay.
If you get a president that gets a little too big for the britches.
Yeah, you can throw me out. But that isn't just anybody. I mean,
The first thing.
if somebody refuses to follow the rules and you gavel them down and they keep talking over you,
You're
I
right.
can throw a council member out of me.
Wow.
And
Unless you vote me back in.
Unless you
I
can.
have to warn you.
Right.
But if I warn you and you continue to talk without being recognized,
Right.
starting to tell you. Then it comes down to the majority of council went over.
Well, and did I read, and again, I may have missed something, but didn't I read that you, as the president, have the right to censure? But you don't have the right to remove committee assignments? That has to go through the pro tem also?
I'm not sure where I see that one. I'll have to find that one.
I highlighted it in here somewhere.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if I have the right to it. Right to participate. In debate 1, all elected officials, president and council accepted, members of the administration and staff members shall be entitled to take part in the discussion of all issues before the council. I have no idea why that's written in there. Are there for a specific purpose. And we have to decide I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just trying to come up with something. Because I'm not allowed to do it, but let's say Ken, Denise, Rob, Mr. Stasiak, Jeremy, can they enter into debate on any issue before council, even if it has nothing to do with the reason that they're there? That if we're talking about farm animals, if we're talking about noise ordinances, talking about zoning changes,
I would assume they would only chime in when they have the answer.
that if you go back to the reason for
Yeah.
looking at the meeting,
Answer.
they are to provide information, answer questions
Yes.
to council. This gives them full right to be in discussion on stuff. If they get, as long as they're talking about as long as they're debating what's before council, I don't want to pick on, as clerk, she has the same rights as the mayor has.
Mm.
I don't know why it's worded that boldly there. I don't think it overrules basic tenor that I'm supposed to, they're supposed to stay in line and be there for a specific reason. The right to question, all of this is just elected officials. It's not staff and everybody else, but they're allowed to question any individual, the public, staff member, anybody there, including as long as they can question anybody they want. Anything as long as it pertaining to the germane to the issue before council for discussion. Is it, do you want it limited to council members are able to question people, or that all elected officials can Jeremy question the public if they ask him a question about something? Can Stasiak question you guys about this? Can you question?
This is one thing that's always bothered me, and I think, as you've already stated several times today, it's our meeting.
Yeah.
These guys are invited per the earlier part of these rules, but that's not their platform to speak. And that would be what I would bring to you all, is that this needs to be one of the biggest keys of focus, is this whole all elected officials. I mean, they all have the same ability to come in and present to us as anybody else in the public, but they would have to follow those rules in order to present. They're there to answer questions. If we have a question for them, and then they'll answer. But that's one thing that's always bothered me about how these meetings run, is that I feel like a lot of fights or a lot of arguments are started that council doesn't necessarily want to start. So I think if we change just that very easy wording to just be council runs council's meeting, and if we want.
And council can question people, but, and they can respond to questions, they can provide information, but they don't have an open to debate and to ask questions of everybody.
Like you said, it's not their meeting.
Something. So on 4, limitation speakers will confine their remarks to matters currently under discussion, but we clearly have public speakers that are there to provide comments and stuff that aren't under discussion. So why do we have it limited? I mean, yeah, when you're talking about a topic, talk to the topic, whoever you are, but you can't go off soapbox, completely different agenda item. But even public speakers, we actually invite them to come to the meeting and talk stuff that's not on our agenda. So it's misleading.
Yeah, I would agree. It could just be eliminated. It's addressed earlier in the rules.
Majority requirements for council action. All actions of council will require a majority vote. I mean, it's not bad. It really is. We don't We do almost everything by a majority unless it requires 3/4 or 2/3. Nominations, some nominations require a vote of all council, some of them don't. If it's an action of council, then it's an action of all of council. If it's an action, if somebody has a right to nominate, then I guess that's not an action of council, that's an action of an individual. That's just that might just be okay as draft, we just have to understand what it really says. And,
Renew voting.
Yeah.
On the voting.
on the voting. The voting is, I think, kind of covered it into the definitions. There's a issue here, a lot of my notes here are regarding the motion for reconsideration. And I spent some time with Robert's Rules of Order, and I have not had a chance to my thoughts with Mr. Finer. But our rules are specific that if you were absent, you have a right to call for a motion to reconsider a vote that was taken at the prior meeting. So you were, it came up last year. I think it was Mr. Bauman was absent. There was and hopefully this is, which doesn't matter what it was. Somebody was absent, they had a vote, and it was 5-4, so it didn't pass. Okay, motion to reconsider. Somebody that voted for it can call for reconsideration at the same meeting or the next meeting, but they already voted for it. So that gives them their right to change their vote. So like if it passed 6-4, and somebody said, boy, I was rash in that. I think I was wrong. I want to reconsider. I want to change my vote. That is by somebody that voted and it prevailed, and they want to change their vote basically to vote against it. The other thing that's in our rules is somebody that was absent and said, by being absent, I'm essentially a vote against it, and I want to initiate another vote. We say they can come up at the next meeting and they can vote for reconsideration. At that point, they probably want to vote for the motion that didn't pass. Then there's a rule, and this is straight out of Robert's Rules of Order, a motion for reconsideration can only be done once. Because there's nothing in Robert's Rules of Order about somebody that missed a meeting being able to have a right to call a motion to reconsider that I can find. So it's only one person that voted for it can change their vote to essentially against it. Our rules, I'm not saying I kind of like the idea that somebody unfortunately missed a meeting and it came to a vote when they say, wait a second, I want to call a vote because I'm going to change that vote. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think that causes the confusion. It's like, well, there could be two motions to reconsider, one at the same meeting and one at the next meeting. But Robert's rule says, no, it only happens once. So I don't think your rules are bad on this. I just think that you have to consider the bizarre possibility that you could have one motion to reconsideration by somebody that prevailed, and you could have another motion to reconsider at the next meeting by somebody that was absent, because we allow both. And the interesting thing is, a motion for reconsideration shall require a majority vote of council in order to prevail. I actually think that's true, reading Robert's Rules of Order. But that means that if you want to change if the vote was 6-4, and you want to change your vote from yes to no, you have to have a majority of council allow you to change your vote.
Right.
Probably not going to get it.
Right.
Because they don't want the people that prevail don't want to get it. So you might not have 6 that want to do it. Similarly, if it prevailed 6 if it was 5-4 and it didn't go forward, and the person that was absent wants to revote, he doesn't get to revote unless the majority say we can revote, at which point he may never get his majority because the 5 people that stopped it aren't gonna let you revote. So there's a lot of situations where vote for reconsideration under these rules might never happen. Right, vote for it. Breaking ties, we already talked about that. I don't think I have anything to do that after that. Other than President of Council shall break vote. It doesn't say may break a vote. That does say that you want the president to vote if it comes to a tie. Under Robert's Rules of Order, it's more of a shall, or may versus a shall. So if you want a shall, take a shall. It's just, that's what the council wants. Over to President and Council, unless you guys have something else. That was my first comment, goes back to, it's a tie of all council members, a tie of council members entitled to vote, or a tie of council members present. This clearly says, case but tie, it just says a tie here, other places, tie. So exactly, if it's a tie of all council there, it's not people that are absent. If it's 5-4 and 1 absent, I really don't believe I can vote. If it's 5-5, I can vote. If it's 2 people abstain, I don't know if I can vote if it's a tie or not. If 1 person abstains, you can't have a tie. It's not abstain, it's
abstained by the rules.
and if there's a tie, if you have 8 members present and it requires the majority of those present, it's a 4-4 tie. Our rules say you can vote. I don't know if you get the won't get a vote in that, break the tie or not.
Well, but if it's gotta be a majority of council, 5-4 doesn't get you to it. Yeah,
If there's 2 people absent, and it's 8 people there, and it's a majority, you have a quorum, you have 6, you have 8 people. Something that requires a vote, but those present, you have a 4-4 tie. Do you want the president to have the right to break the tie, or do you want to say it's a tie and you can't change it?
I thought we said it didn't matter because even at 5-4, we didn't have enough votes to push it through.
That's true.
To the
Would you
majority.
take it to 6? So if but for
So there's no
but you're not,
reason,
you can't approve a resolution, but a majority of council.
but I guess my point is why screw with the rule if it doesn't change the outcome?
Because it's not a majority of council.
It won't change an approval of a motion, but it might. There's a couple, I gotta think about exactly what is the vote majority there. It would only be if it's in a vote majority there, which isn't approving a council action, it's just taking you to like,
Next thing.
I'll have to go back to what are the, I have to go back and review what is a vote of majority present to see whether there's something in there you want the president to break or not break. Again, because you're right, it's majority. Good point. Okay. President of council shall refer matters requiring study by committee to the proper council by majority votes member can refer matters to a standing committee. And I'm struggling with, proper committee might include ad hoc committees. Standing committees, I think, are fine by standing committees. I'm not sure what. I can refer it or council by a majority. So I guess if I refer it to a committee, it doesn't require a vote. If you guys want, if I don't refer to committee, you want to refer it to a committee. Yeah. If an ad hoc committee has been established, I'm not sure if that's a standing, it is a standing. I mean, any committees that are standing,
Right.
that call
Until it's dissolved.
until it's dissolved, right? Okay, so I'm not sure whether proper committee versus. That's clarification for, what is in proper committee that's not in standing committee. Because I can't set up a new ad hoc committee. Okay. President Pro Tem. Those are your rules. I don't care if I'm fine with that. Those are some rules that you created that, make, I don't say I necessarily want them your authority or whatever. Taking stuff that in most traditional boards I've been on, which has been a president role, and you've put it for President Pro Tem. I'm fine with that if that's what you want. No problem. I'm just pointing out that I don't think that is how Finley got to this at some point in the past and decided that's the way they wanted it. And that's what you guys want. It's fine. I don't care. But you've got a council member that you have 10 council members. You've created a council member with a little bit more authority than the rest of you. And if you're happy with that, it's great. It doesn't, comes down to what do you want personalities? What?
Thoughts on that one? I'll share mine if you don't have any.
Share away.
My personal preference is that we leave this in the president's hand as opposed to the president pro tem. And the reason why I say that, I'm referring to section 2 here. The president is an executive member. They're not part of the council. You're opening the door for a lot of favoritism. You're opening a lot of doors for a lot of potential vote slandering or vote movement for people trying to get future committee organizations and that type of stuff. If you have one of us putting the committees together, the president doesn't answer to us officially. If you give those powers to a separate person, they have the ability to make decisions without prejudice. Not to say that Nicole's going to have prejudice.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the overall situation when we're no longer here, put it in the hands of somebody that's not necessarily a part of us so that they can make a decision without prejudice or inherent prejudice. The council obviously still has the ability to vote on it. So if the president makes a decision, form a committee with people that a majority of council thinks is favoritism or for whatever reason don't want those people in the committee, we still have the ability to overrule that. But my personal opinion is that if you have one of us putting together those committees, it's a lot easier for them to do it for not the proper purposes.
Yeah, look biased.
My other question on this section outside of that opinion would be up in section number 1, where we're talking about the president pro tem still having the ability to vote when acting as president at a meeting. And I guess my question on that is that if they do have to step themselves up, they're moving from a legislative, and this is probably again a question for Rob. But if the president pro tem moves themselves into the acting president, they have changed themselves from a legislative member to an executive member. So you're effectively changing your branch of government by stepping into that role. So in changing your branch, shouldn't your vote also be removed unless in case of a tie?
That was my thought, was are they getting to vote, and then are they also the tiebreaker?
Well, no, they're not the tiebreaker. As president, if the mayor's gone, if I'm gone, and they come in, there is a tiebreaker, because I don't believe they get the vote as a tiebreaker when they're president pro tem. If the mayor's missing and I have to go sit in the mayor's seat, I can, so I'm not playing president, I can get any that day. And I still retain my right to break a tie.
Okay.
Even though I'm not sitting in the president's seat. President pro town, my seat runs the meeting and retains her right to vote, just like I retain my right to break a tie if I'm sitting in the mayor's seat. So I think,
Where is that written?
well, it's written in our rules that I still have the right. So it's written somewhere. I've read it. But I've been going through Robert's rules and I've been going through our rules. But if I sit in the mayor's seat, I retain my right.
To break a tie.
I think that's actually in here.
Okay, I'm not doubting
Yeah,
that, but
I think it is.
I guess my question is if you're otherwise
I'm gone.
absent where the pro tem is filling
Yeah, I
in,
don't think she gets 2 votes. He or she, whoever.
not 2 votes, just to vote at all.
Oh, I think she does retain the right to vote because she,
It says that right here in
It
one.
does.
I'm asking, do we need to
Yeah.
remove that?
okay.
Because if you're stepping out of a legislative role into an executive role, do you then also drop your ability to vote?
Okay, and then if,
Which we would run into further issues, because if you do remove that ability to
Then we're
vote,
back
then
to
you
the-
start running into the
then
conflict.
we're back in the definitions, which is you only have 9 people entitled to vote, so what's a majority?
Right, at
What's
that point.
2/3? What's 3?
Right,
Okay, so your question is, should the president pro tem acting as the president retain ability to vote?
correct.
Is that a finer question? Okay, good point.
Can I make a comment?
Um,
Yes.
Okay.
go ahead.
I don't think he heard you.
I
don't know who to ask.
I had one thing to
Sorry.
Mr. Chairman.
Okay, good.
I guess we have to go back to Robert Rules of Order to get an answer for that for sure, because under Robert Rules of Order, a president pro tem cannot make a motion
No, I don't.
They can't make a
Good
motion.
question.
because he was stopped from making a motion by a law director.
Right,
Yeah,
Because,
and that's why I asked, if they
Because I-
can't make a motion, then why are they allowed to still retain their vote?
yeah, he cannot make a motion. under
Yeah,
Robert
correct,
Rules of
but
Order.
that's why I asked that question. If we're taking that away, wouldn't you take all of it away? And that's why you go.
Because I, as a citizen, was very vocal during that one meeting and said something, and that's when the law director stopped him.
okay,
Uh,
okay, so the president pro tem made a motion?
Yeah.
Okay,
he can't make a
You
motion.
can't make a motion because you're.
So if he can't make a motion,
Then why
should be
can't he
able to
vote? Right. And the reason why he can't make a motion is because he's no longer part of the legislative body once he fills in for president.
Right.
Which is why I say, don't we then also need to change that?
and then you're down to.
And then you're-
Reduced number.
Then you're down to a total of 9.
because that had happened earlier, and I sent an email to the law director regarding that, and then this time the law director stopped him.
Okay, stop, you or stop them, stop.
No, stopped him from making a
Stop.
motion.
Okay, so it's,
I mean, it just,
so you believe that,
if
your
he
comment is
can't make a motion, then I don't think you should be able to vote. That probably is in Robert Rules of Order.
okay. Well, when you read Robert's Rules of Order, and you talk about the president's role in voting, I totally misinterpreted it because in an awful lot of it, president is a member of the legislative body. So if you think of Congress, the president can vote, but he only votes if there's a tie. But he is allowed to vote, and he can choose whether to vote or not, but he is a member of legislative. I've had it clarified to me that our government president is not part of the legislature, or part of the
Part of the
legislative body.
executive.
And therefore, I can't make motions, I can't do whatever, and I can only vote in the event of a tie, but it's a little different than breaking ties because I'm not part of council. President of council, I'm not part of council, and that, when you read Robert's rules, you think, oh, I can do this, I can do that. Really.
Well, you can until somebody stops you.
That's right.
Okay,
At number 3,
sure.
that definitely wasn't followed last year during the negotiation with the unions.
Who did it?
The mayor.
Yeah, they said that a council person couldn't be involved, and it's right there. So I don't know why somebody didn't speak up against that. Well, I think somebody did, and they were told, you can't do it.
They all flushed it under the road.
Yeah,
Okay,
Because it's right there, President Pro Tem will appoint a representative for contract negotiation. They said, well, you can't do it because that's private. Well, it ain't private.
okay. I
Well, and it doesn't even make sense to your point of why would you take the person in charge of the department to also then be in charge of the contract negotiation? That's,
So that was
that's a conflict of interest from the word go.
that was not right
Okay,
last year. And that wasn't followed.
okay.
It will be next time.
All right.
I actually pointed that out to Councilman at large and
Why don't you answer your
shoved it. Just
Sorry.
maybe.
Okay.
No, I'm just.
Okay, now, I just highlighted this section significantly in the last week. Rules and organization committee. I don't know why they call it rules and organization, because it's not about the rules, it's only about setting
Organization.
up committees.
Right.
So, we set up the committees in accordance with this. It doesn't say it's, you have standing committees, it's not a standing committee because it's above that. It's not under ad hoc committees, so I don't think it's an ad hoc committee. It's a committee that's meant to be set up at the beginning of each term. And it does not appear to be an ad hoc committee. It does not appear to require a majority vote of council to confirm the membership of the committee. I did have you guys vote on it after President Pro Tem made the recommendation for who's going to be on the committee. I wasn't sure of the answer. It said all council actions had to be voted on by a majority, so I had to vote on it, even though it's silent here about having to vote on it. You guys confirmed it, so we had the committee, but I think this might be the one thing where the President Pro Tem can just name it. You don't have to have a council meeting, and that committee just goes with it. The problem, read that, and it's absolutely impossible for this to happen. And it just happened this year. We have to elect president. We're not going to elect a president pro tem until the first 10 days of the new
Council.
council. The president pro tem is supposed to appoint a committee to fill out all of the committee seats before the first meeting. It apparently doesn't require a vote, might be intentional. And that committee is supposed to do their job and show up at the first meeting before you've hired a president pro tem to give the recommendation. So at our first meeting, this should have happened in November and December after the election. We knew who all the council members were. Somebody needed to put a committee together, get it started, let that committee do their job, pick the committee recommendation, and have it ready for the first meeting. Apparently, the only way that would work was if your past president pro tem had of put a committee together of the new council members before the end of their term,
And then we
and
get our rotate.
Grant did not do that.
Because actually, right now, the traffic commission is meeting Tuesday.
Right.
And there's nobody
And
assigned
And
to the
there's no
traffic
traffic commission.
I,
I said, right, and there's no traffic commission approved.
right. It's not approved. And I made the comment that,
I do plan on being there.
I made the comment that we should notify people what they've been nominated to. You're not officially on those committees until we approve it next
Right.
week, but there are meetings coming up, and if you know that you're gonna be the one nominated to it, you might wanna show up. I thought that made perfect sense. The real issue is we got some rules. It's supposed to approve the budget, and we're supposed to approve all the committee assignments. And our rules, if what you mean is the new president, it's impossible.
Right. It would have to be the current standing.
What actually happened is the mayor sent you guys an email saying, what's your wish list? Dan Yarmouth talked to me about it and he goes, so what are we gonna do? And I said, well, the rules make no sense. We don't have a president pro tem for the new council. Didn't make sense for the last president pro tem to set up a committee of the council members that were gonna roll over into the new session. It's like, well, that would work. But then you're letting then you're dictating that the old council members that are gonna be reelected get to pick everybody's committee assignments. Maybe that's what you want. Unfortunately, there was only one, so if he would try to set up a committee, it would have been a committee of Dan,
Right.
which doesn't exist. So it would have forced the past president pro tem to set up a committee of the new council members that he's not presiding over. Or the mayor went ahead and got the process started, and I did hear a little bit of criticism on what she's doing, trying to do that. I thought some of the boards I've been on, the president goes ahead to organize, but it was clearly a president has no authority here. And so we showed up at the first meeting knowing that we were going to be a couple weeks delayed. We only spent 1 hour last week, and we started with the wish list that the mayor from everybody. Dan, as the only council member returning, made the point of, I believe, meeting with all of you, talking through your issues. And that provided input. And everybody, when council was named at the first meeting, we called the committee, we called the meeting as fast as we could, we got there. I actually presented the pro forma recommendation with no authority, but I was non-voting member of the committee, so I put that out and it gave us some structure to the discussion. And then the committee members reviewed it and they recommended some changes, and they made the changes and we approved it. How do you want it to happen in 2 years?
Go ahead.
You start.
As the chair, I will go first. I was wondering if maybe this was just an anomaly, like this many people taking seats, you know what I mean? Whereas before, maybe you shift 2, 3 people and now, so they would already have that pro tem if they were still there and it would run.
But
So does there need to be something put
You're
in?
gonna vote on a new pro tem, it might be the same one.
Right,
You had a pro tem, just like we did in the last meeting.
right.
And so with the new group coming in, is this saying that what we really want to happen is whoever the past pro tem is, we want them to nominate a committee?
No, don't
Right,
we?
which we don't. Or you would.
Don't we want the president to do that?
It's an option.
It's more of like a non-biased.
Well, and again, so one, I think we can all agree that you don't want a pro tem that's not going to be around in the next 2 years to be putting together a bunch of committees to serve over the next 2 years.
Right.
You can't elect a new pro tem until the first meeting of the year.
Right.
So therefore you would, in our case, as we saw this year for the first time, be delayed in putting committees together. But if we change the rules to say that the president will be responsible for the committees, then the president, knowing that they're elected and about to take office, will also know who else is elected and about to take office. And they can have those committees set up and ready when we walk into meeting number 1, whether we replace 10 members of council or 2.
You already know who's gonna be elected. And all you're doing, you're not telling the president he can pick all the committees, you're telling him who can pick the committee that's gonna do the work to have a recommendation at the first meeting.
Well, I think it should be, yes.
That's one. You can do it either way,
Yeah,
but
right.
yeah. I mean, This is really just saying the president pro tem doesn't exist.
But if we put it in the hands of the president, then as soon as that president is elected, they can start making preparations for allowing things to happen a lot faster.
That's correct.
No matter how many people you replace, which I think is another advantage of taking it out of the pro tem's hands and putting it back into the president.
You're not correct. It would have, and if it didn't take a vote, like this says it doesn't take a vote, it would have allowed, now again, if it didn't, Grant could have done it as president pro tem, or I could have done it as president, like I said, hey, okay, we got 9 new people coming in. We got to get organized. We need to reach out and ask everybody their preferences. I don't want anybody sitting on a committee that they don't want to be on. It might happen, because you don't always get your first and second vote, but let's get there. Let's try to figure out their skill sets. Let's try to figure out their availability for certain meetings. Let's try to figure out their wish list. And let's get somebody the authority to put that recommendation. I mean, you can go anywhere from you just tell the president to do it. And then if you think the president was crazy and you just say that's ridiculous and you reject it at the meeting.
Right.
Or if you want a subcommittee of council members to be actively involved in that decision, like we have right now, and which it worked. We did it. And it only took an hour, and there was only a few changes to the recommendation. It was live streamed. You can go back and see exactly what we changed. Yeah, but a little thought has to go into having a rule that's with expectations of who does what and is workable. No, hey, that what's written there just doesn't work. And now we're going to have and then there's a couple other. Yeah, okay, so then there's a few things in here. I don't know if they're required or if they're there was conflicts between the spreadsheet that the mayor had for naming people to committees and what we have in the rules here. This specifically says that the strategic planning committee shall have up to 4 members, and for the last several years, they've always appointed a minimum of 5. It's always been 5, not 4. And this says it shall be the chairs of the 4 steering committees. We didn't recommend. Actually, this year we did not make it the 4 chairs of the standing committees. They didn't do it last time either. 2 of the chairs of the standing committees were not on strategic planning. This year, Mr. DeArmond said he would give up his seat on the strategic planning to get somebody else involved in it. And so this year's recommendation has 3 chairmen of the other committees and 2 non-chairmen. Yeah. I think strategic planning committee should have at least 1 member from each of those 4 standing committees. But I don't know why it has to be the chair.
Right.
But this rule 1-4 isn't consistent with past practice. I don't know where 5 came from, but 5 and what they've been doing. And it says it has to be the chair, which hasn't been done.
Right. I had the same thing, and I said it may just be a word change. Instead of saying must be, you can say recommended.
Yeah, it could be, recommended.
Recommended,
Let's,
if possible, have the chairs do it. If not,
yeah,
let's have a representative from each committee.
Right. And that's on a couple of these. Some say shall be, and some say recommend. There was some footnotes in one of the things to be discussed is in the footnotes, not in the rules, it says that the airport board representative is supposed to be the person from that their sixth ward, which
Fifth,
is
fifth ward.
fifth ward. Recommended, but still some discussion on that.
Wasn't a large person, so it basically,
Well, the discussion at the committee meeting was, yeah, in that spreadsheet, it said it shall be the person in that ward. We said, well, we have two council members living in that ward.
three.
Three, yeah, three. And so it should be, maybe, if you believe this, maybe it makes sense for it to be one of those three that have a local connection to that ward. And we recommended Brad because he's a pilot and it's one of his key interests, and we recommended him for it. So again, are these suggestions or are they rules? And how much? I think most of our meetings are all supposed to be public. They don't all have to be live streamed. But standing committee meeting, which shall be open to the public, ad hoc, and then someplace else it said ad hoc committees have to be open to the public. I guess that leaves the question as to whether the organization committee has to be open to the public because it's not an ad hoc committee and it's not whatever. But I thought all of our meetings had to be public. I don't, that's just a question.
Or live streamed at
You
least.
put it in 2 or 3 places that have meetings that it's not there. We're in the next page. So when we're in a council meeting and different committees have met and they've submitted their report to us, all committee recommendations should be written during voting to accept the committee report is a vote accepting the recommendations as written. So if a committee report comes in and we vote to accept the committee report and it had 3 recommendations on it, do we approve all those recommendations? If you go to the rules for committees, it says when council approves the committee report, it is not approval of the recommendations of the committee. Those have to be voted on separately as legislation. So when a committee report comes up and it doesn't require, so if a committee report comes in, the committee approved somebody's application request or they did something else, but it doesn't require a zoning change or anything. When we vote to approve their minutes, the committee rules say that we aren't approving it, and our rules say we just did. I don't know what you're doing. Something's wrong.
We're approving it in council, right?
That when council approves the report, if it had 3 recommendations in it to approve projects or to do something else. If it's legislation that requires a separate thing to be written up for us to vote on legislation, I understand that. But if it's approving, are we just endorsing whatever recommendations they made when we approve their committee report? Their committee
Right.
rules say no, our rules say yes.
So you can line up.
Goes back to what is accepted with ORC.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is it's a Rob Finer question. I don't think it's,
There's gonna be an ORC thing for it.
yeah. And then we just have to either fix the committee rules or fix the council rules. So that when we, when we say we approve the report to file, we just rubber stamp whatever they were gonna do.
Whatever they recommended.
Some of the comments, unclear on some of the committees, whether they're making a recommendation to council or whether they have the authority to approve something,
To make a change.
to make a change, or to approve a project, or to tell somebody, we'll approve your project subject to blank, blank, and blank. Was that done, or was that a recommendation from that committee and the council has to approve it? Right. So it's. again, council representatives, airport one is silent here, but it's addressed in the spreadsheet. The income tax is a shall. Even though we didn't follow that. The street department, street designation committee is a shall. Is that a rule that? Or is that guidance? One member has to be. The tax incentive review committee is a recommendation. Because the president's allowed to make that one, so that was recommended. And in that case, I did not take the chair of the appropriations committee. I actually recommended you read. So that was a recommendation. So I didn't break any rules there, but our committee that appointed people broke the other two rules. And as was mentioned in the meeting, it's like, well, a majority of city council can do anything they want. So again, are these suggestions? And a majority of the city council can vote and approve that nomination, broke the rules. They've done it for years. But they didn't break these ones that were in the spreadsheet. The last couple that I look back at did not break those. They did break the rule that the planning committee was supposed to be made up of the 4 chairs. So again, we change these to recommendations, or if they're really rules, did we problem? You got your ad hoc committees. It's just you have a president pro tem appointed, and you have, if it's an ad hoc committee, very clear that it still requires a majority vote of council to confirm the formation of that committee and the membership of it. Whereas the committee to put people on committees is silent about a vote of majority.
Question on the ad hoc committees is if we're going to change who creates all other committees, do we also want to remove the pro tem from the ad hoc committees, or do we want to leave that the same, since an ad hoc committee is kind of a side committee created by us for us?
I'd say you wouldn't put them, or, yeah.
My opinion is leaving it as pro tem, because I think ad hoc committees are more of a committee of us, by us, for us.
Right.
Whereas the other committees are for the city, which would put it on an executive level.
So I'm sorry, so I made a note here. You're
Says
saying
keep that.
it's a committee of,
Council people.
Of council for council's benefit.
so you're okay with
Nah.
that?
So I'm okay with that remaining in pro tem's hands.
Okay. Okay. Versus the other committees that have stuff that's outside of regular council business.
Right.
Okay. Okay,
I guess the one discussion point on that, though, would be if you do get into a situation where President Pro Tem creates or votes for an ad hoc committee that would try to trump or overrule a standing committee. What happens if an ad hoc committee provides a recommendation that trumps a standing committee's recommendation?
Still have to be voted on.
They're both just recommendations, so the council would receive 2 different recommendations on the same subject. So I don't think you have a problem, so you're probably all right there.
You're just choosing.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to get through all that, and you guys have other stuff. I would recommend that we need Rob Kleiner to opine on a lot of this stuff. I think We shall go back and go through the notes and things we brought up and say, okay, how many of these do we want to pursue as potential divisions, and how many do we want to say it was good that we discussed them? We're fine with them.
No need on the,
Yeah. But I do think we should, since we're all here other than Rob, we should try to pick another.
yeah, I think there's definitely a lot of clarification we need from Rob before we have a discussion on whether or not we need to move forward with it. I mean, if Rob comes back with a definition of it.
We can eliminate half of it.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. The definition will eliminate a lot of
We're
conversation.
seeking clarification more than we're saying that changes.
Right.
And that may eliminate a lot of what we have to choose from.
And then we could get down to, a lot of this could be cleaning up some drafting so that it's easier to understand when you read it, and it's a better guideline as to, are these solid rules or are they guidance and recommendations in certain areas?
Do it. Meeting adjourned.
You guys have more scheduling conflicts than I do.
Do we want to see when Rob's available before we
You know,
all dive
I'd like to
in?
do that, but it's hard to, for all the three of you. So,
Listen,
a
busy
think
gal.
of your schedule. I mean, we're gonna have we got President's Day on,
Martin Luther.
Monday, we got a Tuesday. We wanna try to get Rob, and seems like Friday afternoons might not be the best for him. We got pushed Friday afternoon because he agreed, so we could meet maybe Wednesday or Thursday afternoon sometime next week if it fit people's schedule.
Thursday would work better.
Thursdays, there you go. Do we want Thursday?
When you say afternoon, you saying same time or you saying, yeah?
So-
You
Three of you?
4 o'clock would be better for me than 3:30.
I'm okay as well.
Or
A little bit, a little further back. Go.
Okay.
Right, are we thinking 4 o'clock Thursday, the 22nd?
I have a better shot at being on time.
I just set myself at 3:30.
Yeah. You're gonna run into traffic. Things like there's no farmers, right? Too chilly.
You've been jinxed.
Be a tractor, be a snowplow.
Yeah, the weather's supposed to be.
You want me to check with Rob and then
Yeah,
have
and then-
Denise advertise the meeting?
Yeah.
first?
Get the,
Okay,
get the conference room ready.
okay, so we're gonna attempt to set it up for 4 o'clock the afternoon of Thursday, the 22nd. All right. Any other business for the day?
I don't think so.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Gives it
Okay,
a second.
I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
all right, we're adjourned at 5:07. Write it down in the
Yep.
notes.
You tell me how to get that off. Well done.